Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. Happy Monday all. Welcome aboard. Lee Grant is in the house from Montgomery County. Jay Ray, El Senor Ray is in the house from Houston, Texas. Yvette Avery Herod is in the house from Atlanta, Georgia. We have Michael Rudnin in the house from Brooklyn, New York, as we salute more and more people that join us through the chat and elsewhere. Guess what? We're doing all the preparations for what the changes that we're making for Politics Done Right in the new year. I'm testing these things out right now. We're now streaming on Instagram. We're now streaming on Telegram. We're now streaming on Substack. We are now streaming as well on YouTube. What else again? YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. So, folks, we are going to start building all over the place. So you can, no matter where you're at, you can find us on all these different streams, folks. You can find us on all these different streams, and we are here. And we will make sure to keep adding streams as our multi-streamer gets up. Now, I don't know how much of the messages it seems like the application so far gives me the ability to see the messages from Twitch, X, Facebook, YouTube, and in some instances as well in LinkedIn. But anyway, we are here. We have in the house Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas, and Patrick Magner from Houston is in the house as well. Welcome, folks. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. Let me go ahead and start with what El Senor Rudnin has. He says, Raw Story says, this is actually how democracy dies. Experts denounce ABC settlements of Trump lawsuit. Experts and critics of Donald Trump spoke out on Saturday after it was reported that ABC has agreed to give $15 million to Trump's presidential library to resolve a defamation lawsuit. What amounts to be a bribe and a kiss of the ring. It's funny because all ABC News is saying is what a judge said. What Donald Trump did to the woman would be considered rape. That's what ABC said. And of course, what's happening? That is what happened. They've decided to pay off. They gave him the money likely just to kind of give him a victory so they can later on get access to the man. Patrick Magner says, what happens on Saturday? We only had a couple of folks on our Ask Egberto Anything on Saturday. I sent out the links. I put it on but a lot of folks didn't realize that they had the link for the Zoom. Patrick, the Ask Egberto Anything is a Zoom link because you actually come in to speak on Zoom. And by the way, the link to get there is politicsdoneright.com/Ask Egberto. In fact, let me go ahead and put that on the screen so that folks can start signing up for the one that we're going to have in the beginning of the year. It's the first Saturday of every year that we have the Ask Egberto. So let me go ahead and put that stuff in the link. You can go ahead and sign up from now. And then, of course, you'll be all set and ready to go. Let's see. Where's Ask Egberto? Right here. Ask Egberto Anything. Here's the link for signing up. There's the link to sign up for Ask Egberto Anything. It's in the chat on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. All right, let's see what else we got here. Michael Rudin also said, ABC News, Robert F. Kennedy's personal attorney previously lobbied the Food and Drug Administration to revoke its approval of the polio vaccine, highlighting an influential Kennedy ally whose sources tell ABC has been helping interview candidates for top health jobs in the incoming administration. Anti-vaxxers are about to play the Darwin Awards. No, not just for themselves, but for their children as well, as a lot of them will soon become badly sick and die from preventable illnesses. We also have from the Hill, DOJ, no undercover FBI agents were present for January 6th counter conspiracy theory. What is that one about? Let's see. None of the FBI confidential human sources were authorized to enter the Capitol or a restricted area or otherwise break the law on January 6th, nor was any CHS directed by the FBI encourage others to commit illegal acts On January 6th, none of the CHS who entered the capital unrestricted area has been prosecuted to date. This report is basically saying that the FBI worked with right-wing nutters to entice Antifa protesters to attack the Capitol. Oh, God. These guys are such... Anyway, continuing. Military news repost from AP News. Only around 3 to 10 Americans are very confident that Trump will pick qualified people to serve in his administration. Why would he? He doesn't want anybody more qualified than he is. And of course, he's likely the least person qualified to work for the federal government, let alone be the president of the United States. All right, Trump capacity to execute of these responsibilities, while about 2 in 10 are very confident. Worst case of buyer's remorse, Trump has picked nothing but billionaires, sycophants, and nutcases for his administration. The guardrails are off, and most of the people know it. All right, Smithsonian Magazine. God, you're really filled with stuff today, Michael, but I like everyone thus far. All right, next one from Michael says, Smithsonian Magazine, the Arctic could have its first ice-free day by early as 2027. In a new study, scientists use climate models to predict the alarming milestone. I was expecting the blue ocean event and the breaking of the Earth's psychosphere until 2035. This is a tipping point of no return. If reached means the global warming is out of humanity's hands, that's new normal hothouse Earth is inevitable. And last but not least from Mr. Rudnin, Ember Energy. China continues to install more than half of the world's solar power in 2024. At the current rate of capacity additions, China is on track to add 28% more solar capacity than in previous years. In 2023, China installed more solar panels than the U.S. did in the entire history, but I'm yet to see graphs showing the annual carbon emission dropping. Well, it won't drop until we have this has to be done across the board. All right, let's see. Let's see what else have we got here. Jay Ray says, happy Monday to everyone. Lee Grant says, hi, y'all. ABC News will pay. I read that one already. Scrolling down. We also have Eric Hayes says, I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. Oh, my God. I think you brought that up earlier on the thing. I haven't verified the veracity of that, but Eric, I can't take you at face value on that one until I have reliable information. Again, one has to earn their reliability in our chats. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. How are you doing, my sister? Great to be here with you. Matt says, you're not going to like the Smithsonian post. It's game over post. Hold on, Michael. Let's have a bit more faith. I hope. Bridge MCP, another shooting now, Madison, Wisconsin. I guess more thoughts and prayers, eh? Yeah, I guess more thoughts and prayers, what we're going to hear. That's the only thing they know what to do. Anyway, I'm going to start the show today with Mondale Robinson. As you all know, we have been saying that the independent media is going to have to step up. And the problem is, yes, as Politics Done Right and others are stepping up, there is a problem. Some of our bigger compatriots that call themselves progressives have actually been selling their souls. I've told you guys many times a story about being offered to change the format of Politics Done Right to be a right-wing format, and I would have been paid handsomely. I wouldn't be scraping for donations to a newsletter and all of that kind of stuff. I wouldn't be, because I would be flushed. But I have to look at myself every day in the mirror, and I could not possibly do that. But another good friend of mine, Mondale Robinson, the mayor of Euclid, North Carolina, he also stood up. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Well, it seemed like we have some sort of a issue with the network. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Bernie Sanders piece, and then we'll get back to Mondale, okay? Let's go ahead and do that. The subliminal manner, the coercive manner in which the mainstream media carries water for the corporate sector, for those who, by all means, must win, by all means, must profit, must all means, must grow at our expense, is astounding. And the biggest problem about it is that we rarely see the manipulation of the average American citizen by this mainstream media. Why don't we see it? Because they use modicums of truth. They use snippets of truth, snippets of things that Americans would normally find offensive, and tie them into the response that one would give to solve a problem affected on us by a pretty much damaging, hurting, harming corporate sector. I want to center this on the healthcare issue, the healthcare insurance issue. We all know what Luigi Mangione did to Brian Thompson, the executive, the health insurance company executive from Health. I think it's called United Health. Now, here's the issue. What this young man did was a murder, accepted, but it's within the totality of context that matters. When we look at any country going to war and all the people that die within that war, we sit down and we sit back and we justify it as something that is acceptable because it is war. When we take a look at when Panama was invaded by the United States to get Manuel Antonio Noriega, and anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 people have been documented to die, we sort of accept that as, well, that was a military effort that was done. But you know what? There were thousands of people that died. When we see what Israel is doing in Gaza, we're north of 43,000 Palestinians have died for the, well, some would say the revenge of 1,200 innocent Israelis being murdered. We somehow try to find some sort of justification for that. But when we have a sector within our economy, the health insurance companies, that goes out there and systematically causes the unaliving of hundreds of thousands every year. And somebody who wants to be a hero or something, I don't know what Luigi Mangione was thinking about, because we have to realize that this was a wealthy guy, or his parents were wealthy. We have to ask the question, why that one person being unalived would take on such would get the response that it gets from the mainstream media, as opposed to looking at the totality of the health insurance company issue. I want you to see what Christian Welker did to Bernie Sanders relative to a statement made by Elizabeth Warren. But more importantly, I want you to see the response from Bernie, and again, our response, the independent media response to this same issue, because it is very, very important. But what you find Kristen Welker doing is carrying water for a health insurance company industry that actually causes the deaths of hundreds of thousands, now going into the millions over time. Let's listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
And I want to ask you about one of the issues that you cited that you care deeply about. You obviously chair the Senate Health Committee. I want to get your reaction to the horrific shooting of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. Your colleague, Senator Elizabeth Warren, said this.
For violence is never the answer. This guy gets a trial who's allegedly killed the CEO of United Health. But you can only push people so far. And then they start to take matters into their own hands.
Senator Warren quickly clarified. She said, violence is never the answer, period. I should have been much clearer that there is never a justification for murder. My big picture question for you, though, Senator, is this the right time in the wake of this horrific murder to be talking about healthcare policy?
Look, Elizabeth Warren obviously understands killing and murder and shooting somebody in the back is totally unacceptable. But what I think has happened in the last few months is that what you have seen rising up is people's anger at a health insurance industry which denies people the health care that they desperately need while they make billions and billions of dollars in profit. So killing anybody, shooting somebody in the back who's a father of two is outrageous. It is unacceptable. Nobody should applaud it. I know Senator Warren did not. But I think what we need to ask ourselves when we talk about healthcare is why we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people, why we have a life expectancy which is significantly lower than in other countries, why working class people die 5 to 10 years shorter than the people on top. So, Kristen, I feel very strongly about this. And I think the time is long overdue for us to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, especially at a time when we're spending twice as much per capita on health care as the people of every other nation. Goal of health care is not to make drug companies and insurance companies phenomenally rich. It's to guarantee quality care to all of our people.
Let me be clear. I will never justify murder, neither by Luigi Mangiani taking out an insurance executives that does that the policies of that company creates a lot of unaliving of hundreds of thousands, nor do I condone the insurance companies for what they're doing, right? But what we find the mainstream media doing is saying that type of unaliving, that type of killing is bad. But the type that is affected by the health insurance industry, well, that's acceptable. It's the same argument they use for wars. It's the same argument they use. All of these things, whether it be a war or making money on somebody's back, is a power play. It is a power play. And what the media is doing is justifying one form of killing over another form of killing and saying this one is okay, but this one is not. None should be okay. And instead of Kristen Welker moving the question to Bernie Sanders about what Elizabeth Warren said, she should have had Elizabeth Warren on saying, Elizabeth, clap, clap. You're absolutely right. One of the reasons crime occurs in many instances is because one gets pushed and pushed and pushed. You create policies that don't alleviate poverty, so poverty areas are stricken with crime. You create a prejudice against a group of people, and that prejudice against a people causes them to lash back. You create policies that harm, policies that kill people, and those people respond, or their allies respond. Let's be clear, folks. Let's be very, very clear. When we should treat them identically, we should treat them the same. The insurance companies should be up since they want to be considered a separate entity. You know, they're corporations. Corporations are people too, the way our legal system works. It is time that they be held accountable for the deaths that they cause, just as Luigi Mangiani will be held accountable for the death he caused. Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. Anyway, folks, telephone number is, what is our telephone number again? You know, I have to switch between KPFT and here and never remember. Telephone number 281-823-7747 before we move on. Anybody wants to call in and mention anything about that particular clip? 281-823-7747 before we move on to the next video. Una vez más, 7747. Paul Fleming says the overtime rule should have made more than 4 million workers newly eligible to earn overtime on January 1st. Then the federal government did what again? Then the federal judge in Texas said the Biden administration had gone too far. But that's who folks voted for. They voted for the guy that will likely take their health insurance. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing, amazing, amazing. Anyway, folks, let me repeat that number again. It is 281-823-7747. You know, I have eyes not as good as before. Have to go ahead and mention it. So give us a call if you want to talk about this issue. All right, here we go. Brother Ray Beckins, how you doing, my friend?
Yes, Brother Egberto, we live.
AI is taking notes.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me merge these calls. Answer. Let's go. All right. I think I have two callers. Hey guys, both of you stay on. Both of you stay on. I think I have both of you on now. Can I hear you, Ray? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear Ray. Is Magner on as well? Patrick, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. It worked. It worked.
Yes,
So great. It worked like a charm. All right. Ray was in first. So Ray, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hate that Bernie Sanders has to really take a stance that, you know, it's never okay. But, you know, I have to say something that Trump said. You know, when they asked Trump what's his favorite Bible verse, and he couldn't name one. I don't even consider myself a fan of the Bible, but I can name one: an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth.
Uh-oh. Old Testament.
Old Testament, yes.
Yeah.
I'm a better Bible scholar than Donald Trump, and that says a lot about what people believe. But, you know, I will say this about that man. You know, I also say another thing. His family, they can have my thoughts and prayers. Also, I will say, you know, black people get shot in the hood all the time and no one bats an eye. But one billionaire, CEO or whatever he is, gets shot and the whole world goes in a tizzy. What's the big fuss? Well, I'm feeling petty today, Egberto. I'm sorry.
No. Listen, let me tell you, you have the right. Hold on. Let's bring Patrick into the conversation. And by the way, if anybody else wants to call, feel free. We're testing all this stuff that you all are paying for. Remember, your support of politicsdoneright.com/newsletter brings you this. Anybody else can call as well. Patrick, talk to me, brother.
Well, I'm interested. The other day when I was sharing my understanding for what Luigi was feeling, I was told that I was sick. And I'm not offended by that at all. I'm very interested in Eric explaining why, because maybe I am, because it breaks my heart to be at a point where I have to say that this man, I feel, was justified.
Well, let me first tell you,
I feel it.
Mr. Magner, Patrick, there's nothing sick about you. Okay, I think it is sicker for the person who looks at the insurance company's executives who caused the deaths of not one person, but tens of thousands of people. So as far as defending your ability to feel that pain through saying, I feel what you feel, you will never, ever hear that out of my mouth, brother.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'd still like to invite him if he feels like he'd like to tell me something. And as long as it's delivered with respect, I'll have no problem with it. Now, for Ray, I'm an atheist, but I'll tell you the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes are beautiful, and those are two sections of the Bible that I would suggest spending some time reading.
Okay. Now let me just say, let me interrupt for a second. Let me interrupt for a quick second, because Brother Rudden has something here for the screen, and let me see if I can get it onto the screen right now. And I hope our folks on the can actually see this. Brother Rudden says, And you know what? I better put that more to the center of the screen, because we have people now that only see the center of the screen on the telephones. It says thousands die from lack of health care. Nobody bats an eye. One little CEO dies and everyone loses their mind. And again, I think there are a lot of people, I mean, who is it that there are a lot of people that feels that. Let's see, Bruce says, I cannot condone pre-contemplated murder for any reason. I have a question for my brother Bruce. When insurance companies deny certain services, do you think that is pre-contemplated killing? I really want to hear that, because I am a lay person and I know if I deny certain services to people who depend on me paying for those services, that it is equivalent to them dying. What's your thoughts on that, brother Pollard? And Bruce Pollard also said the phrase "an eye for an eye" is found in several places in the Bible, specifically in the Old Testament. The key reference are Exodus 21:24, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for a foot. Leviticus 24:20, fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Just as he has injured a person, so it shall be inflicted on him. Deuteronomy 19:21, your eye shall not pity, life or life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. These verses establish a principle of proportional justice, often referred to as the law of retaliation or lex talionis. All right, let's see what we hear. Bruce also responds, that puts you in the same boat as AI. I'm not sure I understand that one, brother Bruce, but I'll wait for a confirmation or clarification. Anyway, anything else you want to add, Ray?
Yeah, I will say this. One of my favorite quotes from an iconic movie, The Time to Kill by Samuel Jackson. When it comes to that CEO, yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. And on top of that, I will say the Bible verse. The Bible verse says it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is a rich man to go to heaven. And I'll take that as my closer.
Thank you very much for your words, my dear brother. And what about you, Mr. Patrick?
Well, I want to enforce the idea and the understanding that everybody has, and I'd like to invite an argument on this. And not only was that guy letting people suffer and die, people that we love, people that are vulnerable, but they also took away all the mechanisms that could have kept us from stopping it. And what I mean by that is they hold all the power. There is nowhere for us to go and complain and say this CEO is buying ranches with the money that he is denying claims with. Now, why I say it was justified was they took away every other option that we have. And so if they're gonna take away all of our options to fight back, the fighting's gonna get dirty, and it did.
Listen, I hear you. I definitely hear your point of view. Bruce says, ask chat your question. Bruce, I'm not sure which question it is.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I have one rebuttal to that. If they take away voting, yes, definitely. I concur on that. That's it.
Okay, there you go. Well, look, guys,
Ray,
thank you very. Go ahead.
Respectfully, I would say, Ray, how would you vote? How would you vote that away?
With a bullet.
Oh, God. All right, guys.
No, I'm not a violent person. Let me put a disclaimer. I'm not a violent person. I hope it doesn't come to that. But we do live in Texas, and this is a gun owner rights state. So I don't own any, but if push comes to shove, I will protect myself. I'm speaking from a point of self-defense.
Okay, and you know what is so interesting about self-defense? A lot of right-wing states have opened that door, unfortunately, with some of the gun laws that they've passed. And I think they are going to rue the day that whatever that phrase is, rue the day or however that is expressed. But let me just tell you guys, thank you very much for calling. I have another video that I want to get played as far as the liberal media is or the progressive media is concerned. So let me get to that. And thank you guys very much for calling. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Egberto.
guys. Have a great day.
Take care, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and play that video that I screwed up earlier. Hopefully I won't do the same again. For those of you that are listening on our vertical, our 16 by 9s or 9 by 16s, you won't get to, you'll just sort of get the middle of the video. I am still trying to work on that with, I'm talking specifically on Substack phones. I'm still trying to work on that. Eric says, disgusting and politics done right. Egberto Willies letting this go without pushback. I don't. Everybody has a chance to speak here, guys. Bruce says chat responses are justified in killing someone who kills you by denying health coverage. The question of whether one is justified in killing someone who denies health coverage is complex and involves legal, ethical, and moral considerations. Generally, taking a life is considered a serious crime and is illegal in most jurisdictions, regardless of the circumstances. In ethical terms, most frameworks emphasize the value of life and advocate for nonviolence and seeking justice through legal means rather than through harm. If someone feels wronged or harmed by a denial of healthcare coverage, the appropriate response would typically involve seeking legal recourse, advocacy, or reform rather than resorting to violence. If you are facing issues related to health coverage, it's advisable to consult with legal experts or advocacy groups that can provide the support and guidance. And that's an important response, Bruce. Now, the carnal response that we hear from both Patrick and Ray, we must take that into account for a specific reason. And I think both Ray and Patrick expressed something. What do you do when ultimately all recourse has been taken from you? Let me give a good example. During slavery, when black human beings didn't have any legal rights towards their freedom, their only recourse was what they did. Okay, was fighting for their freedom, taking their freedom. When America wanted to get Manuel Antonio Noriega, they went into my country and they murdered thousands of Panamanians to get this one guy that was once their ally. So we do, and I get it. I understand the frustration. We have a double standard as far as when is killing justified, right? And look, I understand laws and I understand absolutely all of that. But we have to be cognizant. While I wouldn't do what Mr. Mangione did, we have to put it into perspective that a lot more of that is going to happen if people have no recourse when they're denied services. And not only that, people will say, well, go ahead and fight it through the legal system. You know, that fight through the legal system, a lot of the times the drug companies and the healthcare companies don't mind that because they know that you'll be dead by the time it's resolved, right? That's what they know. And what some people who are looking for revenge or have in their mind is, yeah, I won't be able to make that change. My loved one will likely be dead. But if I start shaking up the system, Bruce's loved ones, Eric Hayes' loved ones, Yvette Avery Herod's loved ones just may be saved if the arcane act that I perform actually forces changes to occur. You see, there are many. This is not an easy issue. These are complex issues. All right, let me go ahead and play that video, and then we can move on from there. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Today, I'm honored to have Mondale Robinson. He is the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina. He revolutionized a town, and he's also a leader of the Black Male Voter Project. Got it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I really wanted to talk to you is that today on my radio show on KPFT, Pacifica Network, one of the callers said, do you know Mondale? I mean, there's an issue between Mondale and TYT Network. And I'm like, I keep aware of everything that's going on. I hadn't heard about it. And then I said, I'll find out and I'll go find Mondale, because if Mondale has an issue, I want to hear about it. So first of all, tell me about your relationship with TYT Network.
So with TYT, up until yesterday, well, actually for me, Monday, I was an official, contributor. I am one of the originals for Rebel HQ. We helped get TYT's second large money source, over 1 million subscribers. I was averaging about 30 million views a year over there creating content. Plus, I also co-hosted their news shows with their lead host, or whenever the hosts were out, I would fill in for those hosts on the main show, on John's show, on TYT with JR,
with Jake and Anna,
and of course also with Rashad Ritchie and Sharon Reed. So I was on the network, both on both platforms, the TYT News platform, and also on the contributing side through Rebel HQ content creation. So I was a paid contributor up until Monday for me, but Tuesday when they officially responded and they said they hear me and they accept my resignation.
So they just they just went ahead and said, after you came, first of all, let's hear what you did. You came on live, and right out of the blue, you said, I can't do this anymore. This is going to be my last show at TYT. Explain why you did that.
So what happened was I said I would no longer do any more content for TYT. Not only would I no longer host shows or show up as a guest contributor, but I'm no longer creating content. And that's not because of any of the show hosts or at all. It's because of what I see the head of the organization, that's Jink and also Anna, turning towards MAGA. And also, normalizing this idea that Donald Trump and his followers are not racist or not threats to Black people. And I don't care what the outcome of this past election is, for me to see someone who has garnered over 1 billion views from the progressive community, people who have made so much money off the backs and thoughts of Black and white conservatives, progressives. I felt like that was a disservice for who we are. In a moment where we need progressive news, where we need progressive outlets to be as strong as possible to charge up the Donald Trump administration, I didn't see Chink and Anna taking a stance to say that they were ready to do that. What I saw them do was trying to remain relevant with conservative media. Anna doing interviews with Glenn Beck, Jink showing up on Piers Morgan and other places and talking about maybe these people aren't as conservative as you think, or maybe they're going to save democracy. And then I seen Anna take it a step further when she started calling us religious zealots. People on the left were being compared to religious zealots. And that to me was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I could not in good conscience continue to take a paycheck from this network. So I said, I'll walk away from all this money. I'll walk away from 30 million views a year if I need to, because I'm not willing to sell out what my progressive values are. And I see them chasing checks versus chasing the truth.
So, I mean, when they went out of their way to speak to Glenn Beck and others, did they put those clips on the TYT Network's platform?
And that's a part of the problem. And I think people on TYT Network may not have seen this ideology, because what we're really seeing is on Twitter, you're showing up as a different person. Jink, Anna saying, things that some people are confusing, or not even confusing, conflating with transphobia. Anna is being more conservative, calling us zealots on the left. And then, like I said, cozying up with Glenn Beck. And none of this is popping up as content on TYT. This is content on other platforms. So that they looking more mainstream on other platforms, but on the platforms where people are paying subscriptions, where people are spending their progressive time with media outlets, they're showing up as a different people, a different entity. And I can't take that. That to me seems fraudulent.
Well, actually, it is fraudulent if what you're trying to do is normalize both MAGA and normalize Trump, because again, it goes against everything that progressives are supposed to believe in. And for a network that used to preach that that MSNBC was the pariah because they were too close to neoliberalism, it's hard to see then how you can approach MAGA and somehow believe that it's interesting because this has happened to many of our progressive folks when they, instead of chasing their values, they decide to, and we're assuming that these may be chasing clicks from elsewhere or trying to normalize yourself now that we have a new power in Washington. Your thoughts?
I mean, for me, regardless if the motive is money or whatever the motive is to remain relevant, the idea to be progressive, it is never about relevance. It's about moving people further, making sure the least amongst us are getting closer to equity in our line, in our work. And I don't see that right now. So I don't care if their motive is money because it doesn't bother me. What I do see is a week before the election, you were ready to call Donald Trump people fascists, and you was calling Trump a fascist. Now, all of a sudden, the election outcome didn't turn out a way that we were seeking, and now you're normalizing what you just called the fascists. You have been charging up the Biden administration or liberal administrations or neoliberal administrations since you came on air, and now you can't have the gall to do the same thing with the Republican administration just because they said they're going to weaponize the FBI. I'd be damned if you get to run when things get hard and then stand when it's easy. I'm not okay with that. And for those reasons, I walked away from the money and also the platform.
Now, I want you to address something because there's an issue with liberals. Let me see how to put this. There are some people, I want you to explain this. There are some people who can actually play in both domains, but some who would never have the ability to play in both domains. Explain that some.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as American, right? It's as old as American. It's as white as America, right? And because what you're saying is white people get to play politics, black people die from politics. So those who get to play in both domains and without any repercussions, they're usually white people. And I mean, we could dress it up, or they're so close to white, the proximity is dangerous. And I think that to me is not okay. I don't ever think for me that there's a true progressive that can play in both spaces. You cannot be progressive if you don't stand on certain principles. The idea that you're willing to normalize people that say that black people are from S-hole countries, that we root from there. People that when black people say Black Lives Matter, they say Blue Lives Matter. What are we talking about, Smurfs? No, what you're saying is that the ideal of American police is as important as the death of blackness. And I can't stand for that. And I'm telling people right now, we as the progressives have to put a stake in the mud and say, we will not subscribe. We will not send millions of dollars. We will not send billions of views to a network that is willing to be cozying up with Glenn Beck, who was the MAGA before there was MAGA, right? Glenn Beck was Trump before Trump was on the political scene. And I mean, he was so far right that he had to be fired from Fox. Think about that. Think about the lies and the shenanigans that Fox is guilty of that they allow on their air. And Glenn Beck can't be on their air. So to see that what we're calling the vanguard of progressive networks over there playing games with people's lives, because that's what it is. This is not hyperbole. Keep in mind that I still get death threats. Right? I've not spent a night in this town that I'm in right now in 2 years since I tore down a Confederate monument. So to see Jink and Anna cozy up to these same people who believe that black people should not be so-called uppity and know their place, it's not comfortable for me. And I refuse to call those people progressives. So I don't know if there are progressives or people that can play on both sides. What I will say is with whiteness comes the ability to disappear from progressive policies when it's uncool.
You know, I actually saw the tears in your eyes when you just came out and said it. And I mean, it really hurts. Today on one of my programs, I pointed out to folks that, you know, when we look at even the election that did occur, what really hurt is how did the most competent person, somebody who was competent, eloquent, somebody who had no issues, no legal issues, how could that person lose against a Donald Trump? And it speaks to who America is. Explain that somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, listen. If you understand what America is and what Donald Trump was able to do, this is not a new thing, right? This is the white Southern strategy replayed and remixed for the 21st century. All we saw was Donald Trump doing exactly what Lee Atwater said: invoke fear in white people about the threat to their superiority, and you will have a base that is unmatched. And what we saw, white people right now, as a population, they're dying off. They're dying faster than they're being born. But what we saw Donald Trump was able to do was he was able to increase white people's percentage of the electorate, even as their percentage of the population gets smaller. That happens when the narrative is on the right from Donald Trump and his people that whiteness is being threatened by America's migrant or people other than. When you otherize people to the point that white people become afraid, then you see them showing up for Donald Trump in the way that they did. The problem is on our side, on the left, we weren't talking about issues that motivated people. We weren't talking about how we bring trades back to school so that black men don't have to suffer through the microaggressions in workspaces. We weren't talking about how we're going to increase people's life. Black men have the shortest lives of anybody, not just in America, but in 157 out of the 190 so countries in this world. You have to go to places like Afghanistan to find people with shorter lives. We weren't talking about how we were going to address not qualified immunity. Donald Trump is talking about full immunity. So we have to be honest about all of that and what it means to be on the left and how we fail epically at reaching our base.
It is said that we're still fighting this battle. So where do we go from here? I mean, TYT was one of the largest progressive networks, and pretty much they've called it in. I know they have a whole lot of other programs that they run. There are any of these other programs making decisions right now, or what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know the state of what these other programs are going to do. I do have people that I love and built relationships. Dr. Richie, Sharon, some of the producers over there, some other people that I truly care about. But I can't, in good conscience, support a network, because what happens when Jink and Anna start saying that you cannot be on air contradicting what we're saying, and I don't know what that looks like, and I don't want to be around for it. So I do know that people left before me, and people will continue to leave because they're true progressives over there, and we see something that is extremely dark happening right now.
That is give me a closer, Mondale. I mean, this is sad. I had to talk to you, and I really wanted to talk to you today because I want folks at Pacifica Network to hear what's going on. But you know what? Before you answer, I want to let you know that you always have a home at Politics Done Right. You always have a home on Pacifica Network, KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston, and everywhere else. So give me a closer.
Yeah, listen, in closing, here's what I can say. We're not progressive if we're only progressive when the left is in power. It is time to be progressive and progressive out loud when we are out of power. This is when we can demand the most, and we should demand the most, not just of the left, but also of the right. And what I'm seeing right now is I see a cracking in our progressive infrastructure, in that people are willing to be more liked, retweeted, and subtweeted than they are about standing on principle. And I can't do that. Mondale Robinson, Mayor of Enfield, founder of Black Male Voter Project.
Thank you so kindly, Mondale. Keep up the good work.
All right. Peace, man.
That is Mondale, a good friend of mine. We generally interview once a year, and that is at Netroots Nation. Well, when one of our people one of our callers at KPFT told me what he did, I think he watched it live on TYT. I had to give Mondale a call and say, hey, Mondale, what's going on? Explain what the whole shebang is. Anyway, folks, let me tell you, we are up at 54 right now. So, we're kind of near the end of the program. Like I said, we've started streaming to 3 other platforms, which is Telegraph, Instagram, and Substack. Right now, we have an issue with Substack that the way that it's on the screen, when I have full screen videos playing, they only get the center. So what I've done is move things a little bit around to put me more in the center. But I'll try to get that fixed some other time. I have a message out with Substack to my Substack viewers to see if there's some sort of a way we can arrange this multi-stream thing. We're working on it. So as soon as that is out, we'll get that fixed. Interestingly, when you watch the replay of this on Substack, you get the full 16:9 instead of a 9:16 that cuts the video cuts the video up. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some more rulings here. Paul Fleming says firearms now exceed motor vehicle crashes as the leading cause of injury-related deaths for people 1 to 24. A 2022 analysis shows. We also have Lee Grant saying Anna is red-pilled. Now she's MAGA Trump adjacent. That's what he says, and I kind of have a feeling he's right. Schools in rural communities are switching to 4-day a week to attract high-quality teachers amid funding challenges and a nationwide staff shortage, but research shows mixed results for students. And of course, our poet laureate says, that is Tom Zarnick, for most healthcare insurance companies, choosing profit over people is a common underwritten corporate slogan. For many people with poor health care coverage, death is the ultimate deductible. In America, instead of the Second Amendment as written, maybe we should have this: a well-regulated insurance system being necessary for the health and well-being of a free state. The right of the people to excellent, affordable medical care shall not be infringed. I would vote for that Second Amendment, but I'm telling you, I'm at the point now where I don't want the private sector involved in any part of things that that's needed in our society. For restaurants and grocery stores, etc., private sector. But when it comes to healthcare and energy, etc., we don't need those parasites to profit from what we do. And I think America is coming to that realization slowly, but we'll see. We'll get there sometime. Let's see what else we got here. A Gulf Twitler. What Democrats are neoliberal? What Democrats are pro-privatization and reduction of regulations? A whole bunch. You'd be surprised. You will be surprised. Steigen Bergen Greek says, "Whoa, I wish this guy was my mayor. He's a great guy, especially if you met him in person. You would even kind of love what he's doing so much better." Michael Ruddin says police are on the business end of systemic racism. Police chooses which laws are enforced and upon who, and invariably minorities suffer more from that selective prosecution. Yep, that is so true, and we've known that for so long. Lee Grant says you could move to Enfield as well as Eric Hayes, but you know what, folks? No, we are going to change where we are at. Punto y final. All right, let's see. Paul Fleming says doctors fighting back for tier patients. In a recent post on X, Dr. Alan Ewan, a spine specialist in Fort Myers, Florida, note that when insurance company doctors reject an MRI request, he now asks for their name and health provider identification number. I tell them if a cancer is missed, then the patient will know who to sue. I love that. House Republicans wrote to Trump this week, urging him to end the IRS new free tax filing program. They also been trying to strip the IRS of its funding. It's a shame. The IRS finally got a program for people to use. I mean, why should you have to pay to file your taxes? It makes no sense. A Golf Twitler says TYT got dumped by me when Schenck ran against Biden. Good for you, A Golf. A Golf Twitler also said can't be on the news and telling it if you're running for that same office yourself. Oh God, you're a smart dude. Michael Robinson, Egberto, can you clip Mondale's closing statement? Sure. What was it about again? I'll look it up and clip it for you, my brother. Let's see what else have we got here. Para ver. Eric Hayes like my punto y final. Rudden says, after Egberto's live stream, gonna go watch Benjamin Dixon and sort things out a bit. I've not watched TYT much lately, so I'm feeling behind on the topic. Yeah, Benjamin Dixon. Actually, I think that is where that's the first thing I picked up at Benjamin. It's after my friend told me at KPFT, I looked up Benjamin, took that out, saw what it's all about, and realized I needed to go ahead and contact El Señor Mondale Robinson. Mike Cisak says, Paul Fleming, that science sounds like someone on the GOP invented. All right. Anyway, folks, we are at the end of the program. I want to ask all of you to become paid subscribers of Politics Done Right. It's actually the Egberto Off the Record newsletter. how can you be a paid subscriber of the Egberto Off the Record newsletter? You can just go to our Substack, Egberto Off the Record. But here's a direct link. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That's an alias for my Substack subscription. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Become a paid subscriber. Remember what you're getting. You get to read all of my books free of charge on the Substack platform. You also get access to our chat when we have live chats. And by the way, right now I'm streaming to Substack as well. We'll have special streams for those folks that are full-time subscribers. I'm testing out a whole lot of new features to entice folks to become paid subscribers. You know, they get some nicks and knacks to help us defray all the costs that we have here. Again, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Become a paid subscriber. There are many other ways to become paid subscribers of either our Substack or many other platforms that we are on. I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank you for the work that you do in the progressive space to ensure that we make America that better America. Because you know what? We all have to stand up and get it done. It's not going to be done for us. So anyhow, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to